Welcome to Orange County Power Players, where we spotlight the personal, professional, and financial success stories of OC's top leaders. Here's your host, Danny Flores.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Danny Flores with OC Power Players, and today we have Andrew Paretti with us, and he has 35 years of building up technology startups, and he is a business technology advocate. Welcome, Andrew.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So give us a quick snapshot of what you do, and maybe you can also give us a little bit of history of how you got there.
Absolutely. So what I do now is I am leveraging 35 years of technology background, working with every, sector, vertical market in the technology space, primarily on the West Coast. I'm leveraging that expertise and that background to help small and medium-sized businesses optimize their technology, particularly how much they're spending and what they're spending it on. I really try and optimize that spend and kind of reallocate those funds to securing and protecting business.
Mm-hmm.
So as an example, I help businesses lower their internet costs and lower their phone system costs and reallocate that to data protection.
Interesting. So then, how did you get into this? Did you just wake up one day and say, "I'm going to graduate from high school and this is what I want to do," or
Yeah, it's funny. My background has always kind of ended up being in sales. When I was in college, I was actually going to college to be in advertising sales and in creative advertising. But one thing led to another. My first job actually out of college was with Pacific Bell way back when in the mid 80s.
Right.
And Pacific Bell, it was a great training ground, honestly, for understanding just the basics of telephony. And back when this was before the internet, and so understanding that, and so that's how I kind of fell into it. Sales led into technology. I was fortunate enough to spend about a decade at Pacific Bell. Did a bunch of things, putting in phone systems and putting in just basic phone lines. But that eventually evolved into a technology competitor that was actually putting in fiber optics. And so I helped, they recruited me in the central part of California to put fiber optic networks and to sell to businesses as an alternative to Pacific Bell. So I went from working with Pacific Bell or for Pacific Bell to competing against them.
Right.
And I was fortunate enough, we had a very successful run. We're the top market in 50 markets across the US. And then I got recruited up to the Bay Area. And if you know anything about technology, you'll spend a lot of time in either Southern California or primarily Silicon Valley. And I got recruited to Northern California by another startup. This is my second startup now. After the first one actually sold and we made a little bit of money, this second startup asked me to do the same thing and run Northern California for them. That one wasn't so successful. They spent money like crazy, but doing the same thing, going to business customers, giving them an alternative to whoever their provider was for their local and internet. And then when that one flamed out, I actually got recruited by the CEO of a company that I ended up spending 17 years with. It was a company called Telepacific. It's now called TPX. And started as a sales manager running a small team. And over the course of 17 years, we grew from a $50 million a year company to almost $1 billion in valuation. So 20-fold.
Wow.
And we grew from just in California to all across the country. I ran direct sales for them, primarily in the West and Central regions.
Right.
And so I went from having 6 reps to having 22 teams on 135 reps across the country and growing this brand. Actually, we did like 12 different acquisitions over that time.
Wow.
Built and bought a lot of companies that just couldn't build themselves. And we evolved ourselves. We went from just providing dial tone and internet to high bandwidth to what they call collaboration, SD-WAN, And we did a lot of those. And then at the end of it, we're a managed services provider providing security, collaboration, and the basic telephony stuff. So I did that for
17 years.
17 years, and that was a great run until they got bought by private equity. And then another company recruited me to kind of run an enterprise team, and which is great. They were more what we call a VAR, a value added reseller, primarily selling firewalls and routers and hardware. And they wanted to become a managed services provider as well. And so what I did there is I helped kind of grow that team, and we did that for a couple of years. But at the end of the day, you see the same story, right? Taking companies that are either positioning to go public or to be bought by another firm, like a private equity firm, or building up a private equity business. And every one of those had a life cycle. And at the end of the life cycle, I was more interested. At the end of that time, after 4 or 5 of those, I was thinking, I'd really like to build my own business and help the customers I think I can help the most.
Right.
So what I'm trying to do now is take, when I've been selling to big brands across the country, now I really want to help small, medium-sized businesses understand the full portfolio of services that are available to them, and then kind of right size what they're doing. So that's how I started my own business. I said, my best asset maybe is me. I'm not a techie guy, but I just like to help businesses with really great outcomes about how can I save money, and how should I really spend my money if I'm going to spend $3,000 a month, how should I allocate that and protect my business, especially these days with cybercrime, right? You have to worry about that. So that's what I'm doing.
And so how long have you been doing that now?
On and off, I've been doing it on my own for 5 years. And so it's been, now I've fully committed to say this is going to be my career. I'm going to build my own brand, and I work with my own customers.
You've been building for everybody else for the last 35 years, right?
Yeah.
Why not on your own?
Yeah. And in truth, I represent all the carriers. So think about AT&T, Comcast, Cox, you name it, all the biggest brands, Vonage, RingCentral, 8x8, Cato Networks, some brands you've never even heard of, some that I've never heard of, Fusion, etc. I represent about 250 different providers just as a broker. So you tell me your situation, I look at it and say, there are options out there. Let me go to market for you. Let me find, some alternatives and bring a provider to your table that can best support your solution, your needs.
Right.
So they don't have to shop. I'm basically their procurement. I'll go out and shop it for them, reduce their costs. And my typical reduction is about 30% across the board. So their spend is 30% less, and they get way more.
And everything counts, right? Everything counts.
Everything counts. A good example is I just worked with a business that was spending about $1,200 a month for 100 megs of internet. And I said, let me go to market and see what I can do. And I didn't even have to change his carrier. I just kept him with AT&T. And I said, so that 100 meg became 500 meg, and their spend went from 1,200 to 1,000. It literally lowered their spend by $200 a month. They got 5 times the bandwidth.
Wow.
I said, now, what do you want to do with that 200? They said, well, I'm concerned about my computer users. Some people, I just got hit by malware last week. And I said, well, you do need some sort of endpoint protection. And we need to manage and monitor your network and your firewalls and stuff like that. But let's start there. So we started a game plan, a roadmap about let's protect your business. And so that was the basic premise is, let me first save you some money and give you better, reliable service. And then let's reallocate it if you have the appetite to do that. Because with generative AI and other things, there's a lot of different tools. I was telling them, I said, you're actually driving a 2015 Toyota, and we're going to get you to a 2025 Tesla.
There you go.
And I'm going to lower your payment.
That's it, right? That's the value add. And it's always, what value can we create for our clients, right?
Exactly. And I really focus on business outcomes because one, especially small and medium-sized businesses, they don't have an IT staff. Or if they do, it's one person who might be doing something else.
Right.
Let me be your resource. Let me be your ally. And I will go
Right.
to the market for you and bring solutions to your door, not just one provider solutions. I'm talking all of those solutions. I will provide those for you.
Right.
And that's what's important to me, is to help them really, know what's available to them.
Right. Now in your world, looks like there's a lot of competition. What sets you apart from everybody else?
Well, I think the fact that I am agnostic as far as the carriers. And when you say competition, doing what I do, there are a lot of people that, try to be brokers. I have 35 years. I've sold in every segment of the market, small, medium, enterprise space across every vertical, primarily in the West Coast. But I've sold to Uber, I've sold to NVIDIA, I've sold to some of the biggest companies in the world. What makes me different is just because I've been with so many startups, I really know what outcomes, can impact the bottom line and their earnings, what we call the EBITDA for a
Right.
business, really kind of focusing on that for a business. And that is overall profitability. As I said, I'm not really a technical guy, as far as like an engineer type. I'm
Right.
more of an MBA, how can I impact your business?
Right. And so what comes easy to you that others find challenging?
Um, I think for me, it's just having empathy for businesses that don't have all the resources. And I cut through a lot of the challenges they have in you know, sourcing solutions. So, I think if you're even an IT director, or you're a lone IT person, or maybe you have a staff of 4 or 5 people, but you don't have someone that you can pay to be your security guru. Keep in mind, a lot of these small, medium-sized businesses cannot afford to have somebody on staff. Imagine having to
Right.
hire an engineer, train this person up on, say, Cisco technology, only to
Right.
have that person say, geez, my value in the marketplace is way more than what you can pay me. You can pay me 125,000, and I want these. And, if you go out in the marketplace, they can go to Silicon Valley and make 250. So what I try and do is, don't hire, just outsource this, and I'll get you the very best people that'll manage your network and your business 24/7.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Now, if somebody wanted to get started in that type of business, what suggestions do you have to be able to get in there and do that?
Well, for me, I feel like the best thing you could ever do is just get in with a company that'll kind of teach you the basics. And the reason I say that is because I was recently given a customer service record for a customer in the Central Valley. And it was, if you ever read a customer service record from AT&T, it's full of codes. It doesn't even tell you what the product is. It's just
Yeah.
codes. And luckily, back in my days at Pacific Bell, I spent 6 months learning all those codes.
Oh,
And
okay.
so when you learn the codes, what they mean, and what the customer is being charged for. And I don't know how you cut corners on that. You're basically guessing as to what they have versus, okay, now I know what they have from a baseline perspective. The most basic services, like call forwarding on your phone lines. It could be
Right.
just a feature they're paying for, or this thing called Wiring Pro plan, which is covering inside wire to everyone's desk. And some companies are like, I'm paying for that. Yes, you've been paying for that for 15 years
Yeah, I
per
did.
every month, right? And being able to read this customer service record comes from the basics. So my thing is, always build a foundation,
Right.
but look for a niche. So for me, my niche is small and medium-sized businesses. My niche is in a specific geography, whether it be in Orange County or somewhere else in California. And then I can help customers anywhere, because all customers are looking, especially these days, to save money and spend it wisely.
Right.
So get your baseline, go work for a larger company that will do a great job of training, teaching you to have business level conversations. Focus on outcomes, not on selling your product or service. Like, I'm not selling a cell phone. I'm not selling. It's like, what are you trying to do? Well, for a lot of businesses, they're trying to do a couple things. They want to have, better customer relationships, right? How do they reach their customers? A thing through omni-channel. Are they reaching their customers through inbound calls, outbound calls, the internet, mobile devices, chat, social media, all those omni channels that will come into a single platform that they can manage? That's where customers are really focused. So focus on business outcomes above everything else. And
it's what you're giving to the business that makes you valuable, I guess, is basically.
Yeah, you're not selling things. You're just selling a solution that's going to make their business better, make them smarter. And a lot of times I talk to business owners who are like, gosh, I got to be honest with you. I'm so busy running my business. I'm hoping my technology is on autopilot. And rarely is it on autopilot, right? It's things. A good example is in the mid 80s, there is a famous story about how they presented a cell phone. They said, soon every one of you will carry one of these portable devices that will be able to allow you to talk, read emails, and do video calls from this one device. Well, it took about 17 years for the cell phone industry to gain 100 million users. Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
Now, Facebook came on board in roughly 2000.
Yeah.
And it took them only 7 years to get 100 million users. ChatGPT got 100 million users in 4 days.
That's crazy, huh?
Right. So the story is technology is moving so fast. How can you ever expect a business to know that? Outsource that to companies. That's all they do is evolve and change. Right. And you're not going to hire someone or train someone to keep somebody on staff to do that. Let's see if we can't, bring the world to your door. And that's what I try to do.
Very good. Very good. That's really good information. And it's just so true how things have expedited themselves so fast.
Yes.
And continue to get faster, right? With ChatGPT. I mean, you can write a book like in probably 4 hours with ChatGPT.
You can do art. You can do all kinds of, it's crazy. It's really, really amazing.
Yes. So what has been one of your biggest challenges in your career that you've had to overcome?
For a long time, I managed people, and everyone's unique unto themselves, and there are always, great joy and great challenges with people because everybody has different priorities, I think. But for me, it's, I enjoy the relationships. I think staying on top of the technology, staying on top of what's not just been released, what's available, but how do you use that? A good example is AI. There's a lot of confusion about AI. It's like, oh, I'm all excited about AI, but how practical is it for you to use that? What are some of the outcomes you should focus on as maybe a business owner to handle some routine tasks? So for me, the challenge is always be ahead of that, be well read and well versed and listen to podcasts like yourself and learn what others are doing. So staying on top of that, I think, is the biggest challenge.
That's awesome. That's good information. And those are good tips.
Yep.
Now many business owners such as yourselves look also for other ways to create income passively, to kind of set themselves up for retirement or for additional income from their families. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's super important. If you have to kind of diversify your holdings a little bit and start thinking what's next. We used to do a thing, if you remember the old hockey player, Wayne Gretzky, they used to say he didn't skate to where the puck was, he skated to where it will be. So thinking about that along business lines, you want to start thinking about what is coming down the line, and then find out where there's a possible gap. And you can start like a secondary hustle, if you will, or secondary income side hustle by just looking into things that really interest you. So find out what's interesting for you, and then see if you can monetize that.
Right.
Yeah.
Great information. So as we wrap up our interview, what does 2025 look like for you?
It's gonna be amazing. Yeah, it's gonna be amazing. Getting in front of more customers that need help and might be confused about what their technology solutions are, but or just fully understanding what what's their capability. How can they wisely spend their money on technology solutions? And even if they say, I'm good, I'm fine, this is what's 2025 is going to be. It's going to be kind of a, right sizing of a lot of small, medium-sized businesses, helping them optimize their technology spend.
Right. Yeah. And that's that great opportunity for you.
Yes.
So that's awesome. Now, thanks so much for coming on to the interview. You've provided some great insight on your career path and how you got there and how you can help businesses, save money and get more bang for their buck, so to speak.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, how would they get a hold of you?
Best way is to find me on LinkedIn, Andrew Paretti. On LinkedIn, it's probably the best way. I am in Orange County, so they can reach me that way. But I think that's probably social media is probably the best way to kind of connect with people as well. They can kind of see what my background is and how I help customers. And actually, I think that's the best way to connect and kind of keep a community and help each other.
Awesome. Well, once again, thanks so much for coming on, Andrew.
Danny, thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to Orange County Power Players. Want to share your success story? Apply to be a guest at ocpowerplayers.com/guest.